wise men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodun Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the three sculptured chiefs were placed along the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate to welcome people coming into Lagos State. The statue called the Three Wise Men by many has become a major signature for the state. Three white-capped chiefs clad in white wrappers, knotted across their shoulders and with clenched right fists are shown in the artwork. The images fascinate and create impressions in the minds of visitors coming into the state, captivating the attention of visitors who look with keen interest, pondering on the messages which the posture of the engraved images signifies. The Three Wise Men has been relocated thrice from its original position at Ojodu Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to Magodo area before its final relocation to its present site at Olowopopo Drive. The sculpture has suffered severe damages over the years and renovated. Bodun Shodende, through this sculpture, depicted the highest honor that can be afforded to anyone in the eco-greeting tradition. The Three Wise Men, Arometa, SOUQ Enlightenment.
My name is Olatunji Shoti Miri. I'm a performing artist and television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching SOUQ News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching SOUQ News. If you're not watching SOUQ News, I pity you, but keep watching SOUQ News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timmy Dakolo, and you're watching SOUQ News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko, co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at SOUQ News. Guys, keep watching SOUQ News for everything that concerns business, economy, politics, news. SOUQ News is your station.
Lateef Jakande. Born Lateef Kayode Jakande in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island, Lagos State on July 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, King's College, enrolled at Ilesha Grammar School, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Jakande began a career in journalism in 1949 with the Daily Service and joined the Nigerian Tribune in 1953. The owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, appointed Jakande editor-in-chief of the Tribune in 1956. Jakande established John West Publications in 1975 after leaving Tribune and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN. Jakande ran for election as executive governor of Lagos State in 1979 on the Unity Party of Nigeria platform. His administration was effective and open and implemented the cardinal policies of his party. He introduced housing and educational programs targeting the poor, building new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and providing free primary and secondary education. He gave poor people's children education, and many of them are now very prominent in the society today. Jakande established the Lagos State University and constructed over 30,000 housing units. After the military takeover in 1983, Jakande was charged, prosecuted, and convicted of treason and later pardoned. He served as Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. He died in Lagos on February 11, 2021. Lateef Jakande was the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Lateef Kayode Jakande, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to your program, SOUQ PULSE. Here we look at government policies, we look at international and development organizations, we look at how their own policies affect businesses, be it individual, international, or government businesses. We also look at cross-border trades. We look at what exactly government is doing to show up their GDP and advantages and disadvantages coming from both within and outside. We look at it, drop it on the table, you join the conversation, and we tell ourselves the basic truth. How can we make things better for people within the nation and for government that are seeking better possible ways of doing business? It's SOUQ PULSE, and we are here weekdays, 4 p.m. Today, we will be looking at something that has to do with we on this side of the divide, and I'm looking at African countries. Last week, we spoke a lot about Asia and policies, how it affects them, makes them better, and how it also affects Africa. But today, we'll be looking at Africa in a different light. My name is John Rogers Chooks, and I promise you that at the end of this 1 hour, you'll be glad you spent it and spent it good with us. I'm not here alone. I have our own learned fellow, a trainer of trainers. And he's not just someone coming from outside, he's in-house, and we are so proud of him. Dr. Dahusa, welcome to SOUQ PULSE.
Chooks, my pleasure to be here sharing the stage with you this afternoon.
You're welcome, sir. I needed to introduce you before I introduce our topic.
Oh my God.
Because today I foresee that we might not agree on a whole lot of things. Well, so let me water the grounds first.
Okay, that is permissible.
Thank you very much. So today on SOUQ PULSE, we are looking at foreign aid. But we're looking at foreign aid from this other angle. Why are African countries continuously dependent on foreign aid? What is the truth? A lot of hypotheses has been pushed forward. A lot of theories have been pushed forward. A lot of arguments have been pushed forward on needs for foreign aids, on no for foreign aids, on why foreign aids are important, on why this particular kind of activity needs to continue. But if we look at it deep and true, for over 60 years, Africa has received foreign aid, be it from donor agencies, countries, even from continents. And still, after 60 years, Africa is still receiving foreign aid. It has gotten to the extent that some particular African countries now make their national budget with expectation of foreign aid funding part of a budget. We're going to talk that through. We'll look at it, we'll break it down, and we'll look ourselves in the face and tell ourselves the basic truth. Has foreign aid aided us, or has foreign aid made us worse than the aid itself? Today, Dr. Dahusa is smiling and looking. So we'll normally start from the basics. Sir, how good has foreign aid done to us? Before we start going country by country, how good has foreign aid done to us?
Well, I would like to put the S in the back so that we can call it properly as it is. AIDS, advanced form of HIV. Because African immune system over the years have been completely broken down. And that's why you see us where we are. Aid has not done Africans any good, and it will not do us any good.
Okay. I like your first statement. As in, you let us know where you stand.
Yes.
So wherever this discussion and quarrel is going to go, I now know where you stand. Okay, that's good. Now, sometime in 1960, the Development Assistance Committee came into being, and they came directly from the Organization for Economic Cooperative Development. Now, the funny part of this was that came into being in 1961. 24 countries. And now, where I found this very interesting is that these 24 countries control 2/3 of the world trade and service. So this particular 24 countries came together on their own and decided, okay, how we are going to aid this, aid that. I sat and I now started thinking, if somebody is controlling a trade to a particular amount, it's just like if I go and open a shop in Alaba and I'm trying to get my customers from Lagos Island. I'll go and water Lagos Island. I'm using that in my own parlance. I'll go and, that particular area where I'm looking for customers, I'll go there and make sure that they feel my presence. That is what I saw here. Now I'm looking at Africa. Africa's contribution to international trade is 3%. The entire Africa put together. Now, if we are saying 3%, mind you that out of this 3%, over 80% is direct raw material exported. Yeah. So, sir, looking at 3% and 2.2/3 of world trade, now China is not part of this. Russia is not part of this. Are you still seeing international aid as aid?
Yeah, international aid is actually AIDS because it's acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. That's what it is. And I stand with that. The fact remains that what the Western power has done to us as Africa and what we also have done to ourselves as Africa is over-relying on this facility that come from the West as we need it to survive because we are gasping for breath. This is the problem.
Are we really gasping for breath?
Yeah, because if you have people who are not able to sit down to articulate workable solutions to their problem, you're going to be relying on this. Let's draw the parallel. When, after the Second World War, Eastern Europe were completely damaged by the effect of the war, what was the approach that was put in place, that was articulated in Harvard by Professor Marshall? Was the fact that Europe needed a bailout to be able to compete.
Was that what he now called the Marshall Plan?
Yeah, that is exactly what became the Marshall Plan.
Which Africa can't adopt.
Now, what was Marshall Plan? Marshall Plan was first and foremost to give a substantial amount of money to rebuild Europe and then create an economy around the European powers such that Europe can trade with itself. What we today regard as Schengen, which is the borderless Europe, is the byproduct of Marshall Plan. It was conceived in America that Europeans should trade with themselves so that they can create economy around themselves. Now, what's happening in Africa? They are giving us fish, and they don't want to teach us how to fish.
Let me cut you. Do you think it's deliberate?
It's very deliberate, because what this does to the psyche of a man is that somebody is coming to help you and is bringing money to help you in a particular area where, of course, you have to consume some of the things that they produce. Take, for example, in the health sector, you see aid coming here to do tuberculosis, to do malaria,
Measles,
to do measles.
polio.
Now, who is the beneficiary of the money they are spending? The big farmers in the West. It's simple. So, I give you money to buy my drug. The money return back to me.
And the drug won't be enough, so you add yours to buy
To buy it, yeah. So we have created a market for that product in Africa that we now know that this is the cure to measles. And we're all buying it. And the money is returning back to them. So this, for me, is what is happening. And if Western powers really think they love Africa, the first thing is to encourage intra-Africa trade. In other words, the way they left Europe without putting pressure on them and allowed them to bond and unite without creating wars, they should also allow Africa to come together and trade among themselves.
Why would you want to shut down a market that you own if you are telling them to open up and let Africa trade by themselves?
Yeah, but the
If
figure
Africa is a market and you know you have this market, why do you want to shut the market?
It's something that is negligible.
You think so?
Yeah, so they can actually do more in terms of respecting the sovereignty of most African states. And this is a problem. And I said this on the other program yesterday, last Friday, where you see a situation where the Francophone, the Russophone, you're seeing the Anglophone, all these phone, fighting against themselves, and they do more business with their erstwhile colonial master than they would do with themselves. So this is the problem in Africa. We really don't need Western aid. All we need is give us that freedom to be ourselves.
Okay. Okay. This is more like phase one.
Okay.
Shots fired. We will go on a break. Just don't go anywhere. This topic is hot on this table, and we'll be right back. SOUQ Pulse is not going anywhere. See you very soon.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an armed forces remembrance cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Markets, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Hello and welcome back to SOUQ PULSE. Now, we're still here and we are looking at foreign aid. Africa's dependence on foreign aid. Who is telling the truth? African side, is it for development? Is it really and truly for development? And the giver, what is exactly are the intent of the giver? Now, let's look at who are the major donors. Is donated funds. Before I go to donate, sir, is this free?
It's not free. Because even a free time, there is no free lunch.
Hold on. Now, I hope this is sinking in. Now, aside the OECD committee and those 24 countries, there are also international development agencies who are not part of the committee, but they are observers, the World Bank, the IMF, and co. Then there is the US, who happens to be the singular highest giver, donor of this particular aid. And also, mind you, in these aids, loans are also there, but they are categorized and called aids. You pay back, you pay something. Now, which of the African countries gets the highest in the last 8 years? We are looking at Ethiopia, we are looking at Egypt, we are looking at Nigeria, yes. We are looking at Somalia, we are looking at South Sudan. Now, of these 3 countries, of these 5, 3 out of these have been unstable, even as we speak.
All of them.
Nigeria is not unstable.
All of them.
Okay, not as unstable as these other 3.
All the countries are unstable. Ethiopia is unstable. Egypt is unstable. Somalia is unstable. Nigeria is unstable. See,
I'm looking at instability, looking at from conflict side of it, violent conflict side of it.
What's the difference between Eritrea giving Ethiopia trouble and then eventually they cut away?
That's a war. A war is happening there.
You call it war because you don't see the fight between the Nigerian army and IPOB I send on one hand, Nigerian army and
Boko Haram.
Boko Haram on the one hand, Nigerian army and bandit on the one hand. What instability can be worse than that?
Okay. Now, this bets this question. What exactly are these aids aiding? Are these aids trying, I'm trying to be careful with my words. Are these aids meant to satisfy a particular group, or to keep a particular group quiet, or to silence a particular region?
That is what I said from the beginning, is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome to weaken the immune system, the economic immune system of African states. That's the point I'm making.
And make you dependent.
Yes, of course, you have to rely on them. And what you find here, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Then they give you the money and they tell you how you are going to spend it. And you cannot even add your common sense to its expenditure. And now what this does is that they tell you, oh, we are giving you this because we have seen this is your problem and we are going to do problem, and they tell you, you will need to do this one, you will need to do this one to qualify for this aid. And African governments are struggling heavily. And therefore, we have to rely on what they tell us to do, including increasing our interest rates, multiplying our taxes, to prove
when it's not positively good for your citizens.
To prove to the creditor nations that we can collect money to pay back if you decide to give us loan. And so we have been proving to these Western powers since independence, and our people have consistently bear the brunt
of the AIDS.
And that's why we are the wretched of the earth.
I beg to differ on that one.
Well, I didn't invent that concept. Franz Fanon did.
Where is he from?
When he wrote in 1965, the wretched of the earth.
Where exactly is he from?
He's from East Africa.
He's from East Africa. Where did he school? Who taught him? What did he study? What form of education did he get?
Well, I don't think Franz Fanon said anything that is...
That takes me to where I'm going to, and thank you for bringing it up. Now we look at the media, be it all Western media, none. Before 1980, in the 70s, you wake up and you see an advert, Red Cross, donate $1, a child is dying in Africa. 1980s, it's been that same format. Everybody is telling you that Africa is poor, Africa is dying, Africa, there is famine. They never show you anything good about this side. And over the years, it has sunk in the psyche of even the black man, even the African. And we see ourselves the way people that don't know us see us. Don't you think this is all calculated attempt to keep you where you are? And keep the market, it's all about the market, and keep the market to themselves.
Well, that is calculated or not, the deal has been done. And how do you measure it? You measure it by the size of poverty all across the space. So the real poor people are here, the suffering people are here. We don't have control over our resources, that is on our soil. We don't have control over the quality of our education. And if you are here now, your child must be in one nursery school and they will be telling you Montessori, British curriculum, American curriculum, Australian curriculum. Why will a Nigerian child, a school set in Nigeria, be priding itself that they are doing British curriculum or French curriculum? How does that generate the kind of development that we're talking about? And they take your children and they teach them phonetics, and they cannot think.
We are developing our future for the West. Okay. Okay, now let's come back before we deviate and go too far. Let's look at AIDS from a different perspective. We get to see AIDS in form of military assistance. In quote.
Yes.
Now, let's look at Egypt. When Egypt had a change in government, we saw a lot of this AIDS in form of military assistance. But this military assistance was backing a particular set of people. Yeah. And those particular set of people currently rule the country. And we see that happen across boards. So is this particular AIDS targeted to a segment for control?
Yeah, but this is where Africa find itself, and that's why some time ago I said in here, it's baffling for me as an individual that we have not been able to sit down one day and ask ourselves some basic truths. For us, the best destination to be in the world is still America, England, United Kingdom, French. And this, for me, is a real tragedy. Because number one, you don't believe in your systems. And you don't want to develop your systems. You are shifting your resources down to the systems. So this is the problem. And this is how they want us to live. Perpetually tied to their apron string. And this is a problem. And African leaders need to wake up to understand that we don't need to go to Europe to be well. We can fix hospitals here and then allow us to do the things that we are using here. How can we be having toothpick imported from abroad. Now we are importing soup.
Come again?
Ofe Isala from India. So this is what we are facing. And this is the challenge of the inferiority complex of the African man. That thinks that the Igbo man is the one who knows everything and is all the one that can do everything. And it's unfortunate.
Okay. Now let's get down to the people that receive this aid. I asked earlier on if this was free money, and you said no.
It's not free.
Okay. It's not free to the one that gave. Now, what about the one that received? African leaders, politicians, across board, over time, have they been able to account for this aid that they've been receiving?
Yeah. I remember one of our former presidents says that the challenge that they've been trying to deal with in their government was the fact that goat and plantain and yam were kept in one room. And they were trying to separate the plantain from the goats.
Are you leaving me to explain what you said, or? Okay.
That's what the president said. So the effort of the regime was to see, remove the goat and the yam.
But was it not the same president that appointed those that kept both goat, plantain, and yam in the room?
Well, he was working hard to see how to separate them.
Okay. This begs me to bring this particular issue up. Just last week, a segment of the Nigerian society is asking the present government to probe the last government for a loan, part of the aid that was given to the last government that nobody has accounted for. The office of the Accountant General just put it up that they can't find this money or what this money was used for. And this money came into the country. So I don't know, this is exactly where we are heading to. Now, how do we say that African presidents or those within the corridors of power, if this particular, who gave you the loan knows, or who gave you the aid, let's keep calling what they say it, aid, he said this is not free. Somebody somehow pays for it in one way or the other. And you that is receiving it, you can't account for it, which means it's free money.
Has the goat left the room where the yam is?
Have we found the yam? So who is accounting for the yam?
This is the problem. The goat is in the room, the yam is in the room. The yam is in the stomach of the goat. That's why you can't find it.
But who is going to hold the goat responsible?
This is where we really need to talk about some of the moralities of these international bodies. God bless his soul, General Sani Abacha. Like some people said, even from the place of the dead, still has been feeding Nigeria because of the money he kept somewhere on our behalf.
On our behalf, you said. Okay. That must be a very big goat. But at least we are selling the yams you talked about. Now, no one is being held accountable. No one is being held responsible. So we say most of these aids keep going down the drain. For you can't tell me that for 60 years, in Somalia before they became a country, Sudan before they split, all these have been receiving aids for a very, very long time. Yet the countries are getting worse by the day.
Yes.
Now, environmental issues are now creeping up. And we are now seeing what we've done to ourselves. Because those particular lands where you could farm before, you can't farm anymore. Now you want to move to someone else's land. And now we are besieged by food shortage.
You know, it's natural for people to be drifted toward a caregiver. And that's why when you see situations, young girls are raped, some of them are lured into the room maybe on pretext you want to buy something, or come and take biscuits. So the man who is giving biscuits to the young lady is not doing it because he wants to satisfy the hunger of the young lady. He's doing it because he wants to satisfy his evil appetite. And this is what we are seeing here.
Okay. Let me finish my thought now. Africa still have, present tense, a lot of fertile land. We can't feed ourselves if we want to, if we decide to. Why are we depending on the West for food aid? Because that is the in thing now. We are having food aid, food distribution, to the extent of prepared meal coming from the West. At what point in time can our presidents in Africa say, I am ashamed?
No, you see, look at it. It's a very simple calculation and arithmetic. They came, they said you were backward because you were in the farm. And the only way for you to be frontward is to go to school. So we can give you certificates. So all our children were removed from the farm and given pieces of paper to go to the city to look for a job that does not exist. And they were taken away from their trade. And yet, in America, in Canada, the richest of them, they are in the farm. This is it. And this is deliberate. So what do you do here? You're taking away people from their natural habitat, where they could really have sat down and create economy around themselves. And even make it worse, if you read Nkrumah's work, Neocolonialism, the last phase of imperialism, he even gave an example where, of course, they both hold the knife and the yam. And he said in one of those chapters how the Gold Coast, who were supplying potato to these English people, and all of a sudden they have grown their own potato, and they said the potato of Ghana was carcinogenic. And then, of course, they were discouraged from planting. Is it different from what they are doing today? That Nigerian curry or cassava cannot enter into Europe, UK. Our yam cannot enter into UK. And they tell you they are carcinogenic. You see, these are deliberate policies to take you off things that can make you self-reliant. Because they know the day you start to feed yourself and you are sufficient in terms of food production, you are no longer going to be a yes man. So the first thing to do is to destroy that opportunity to have dignity for yourself. So all you need to do is to, because you are begging, and then when they tell you, go here, you go there, you go, your brain becomes tabula rasa because of hunger. This is where we have found ourselves, and this is where we must speak to ourselves and tell ourselves some basic truth. That's why when they are talking about the figures of unemployment here, you are looking at unemployment as people who are working either in bank or government works. Farmers are not regarded to be employed, and that trade is not dignified.
Because we have refused to dignify it.
Yeah, but because they have told us where dignity lies. That we both look like this tie and this suit. Then, of course, nothing is happening. So we're all putting tie here hungry. And nobody is in the farm.
Okay, on this particular note of putting tie and not really producing much, we will go on a break. It's still SOUQ Pulse. Hey, don't go anywhere.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the Outer Marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. SOUQ Enlightenment.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godio Didi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
SOUQ News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to SOUQ News.
So I'm happy that SOUQ TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the SOUQ News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think SOUQ News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and SOUQ News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching SOUQ News.
Keep watching SOUQ News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching SOUQ News.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Marse Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, SOUQ enlightenment.
Yes, welcome back to SOUQ Pulse. We're still here and we're discussing foreign aid. We're looking at dependence on foreign aid by African president, African countries. Who exactly is telling the truth, the giver or the receiver? And on whose end is the benefit going to, the giver or the receiver? We've seen Africa over a long period of time. You've been receiving billions of foreign aid. How have you fared? On the other hand, we've seen the giver. And I can tell you the giver is doing well. Now, sir, let's look at this other part of it. Dr. Dausa is still here. During the COVID issue, all the Western states, including Asia, by the first week before the vaccine even came out, they all booked and paid upfront for a vaccine, whether it's working or it's not working. And when those vaccines were rolled out, they all took for their countries. Nobody considered Africa. Africa had to literally beg for COVID vaccines. Even the ones that Africa tried producing were never licensed. So at that point in time, I was now asking myself, if you were giving aid to Africa and Africa was of concern to you, now it has come to crunch time, matter of life and death, why didn't you consider Africa? So at that point in time, did they see us as a market or just the goods?
Well, I just want to say we were very lucky that God was on the side of Africa during the COVID, because for me, it was actually designed to wipe out Africa so that they can take over the land, the gold, the uranium, our diamond, our crude oil, but God will not allow it. So that's why when I hear some people talk about, our religiosity, to a very large extent it helped, because at a certain point there was a prediction by a very high-profile person from the United States and the wife that said that they will be picking Africa on the streets. Don't forget that the preparation for the COVID vaccine started in 2017, even when the virus has not been born. You see, some of all this conversation, and I think that African leaders must own his own narrative, that we don't necessarily need to depend on the validation of Western nations to be who we should be.
But
this is where the challenge is.
This is where the challenge is again. If you say African leaders need to own their narration, who are these African leaders, to be precise? Because most of these African leaders were supported to power by this same aid-giving organization, aid-giving government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see, while they were talking about vaccine, what happened? India produced their vaccine.
And went ahead to use without
yes, of course.
anybody's approval.
Why do we need to wait for the approval? This is a problem we're having, where the political heads of Africa are so inferior complexed that they cannot think solutions from within. Look at most of all this argument we're talking about. If we were really to be very honest with ourselves, how many of our political heads and leaders have their children going to school here in Nigeria?
That would be
and they're using our money to train their children abroad?
That would be
and then come to impose them on us, and they don't know our soil, and offices are given to them. They're not part of the system. This is a problem in Africa.
Okay, let's come back to our topic. You've digressed far. Now let's come back home. We're looking at AIDS and what aids have done. We agree on one point, that some of these foreign aids, a part of it has made some people presidents in Africa. A part of it has empowered a particular groups in Africa. And a lot of those groups that have been empowered are anti-African. A lot of those presidents are not working to the best of their knowledge or to the best of their ability for their own countries in the first place. We have governments where aid is being given to a health sector, and what is coming in? Machines that the countries can't operate. When they have faults, you have to go back to who gave you the machine to come fix it. And some will pack up. You have to go get another one with now your own money from those same people that gave it to you. So it's more like a two-way traffic, all facing the giver of the aids.
Yes.
So at what point in time can we start learning? Is it a government thing or a people thing?
You see, treaties are not signed by the people. Treaties are signed by government heads. Those people who represent us, who negotiate on our behalf, many of them were not born here, many of them did not go to school here, many of them has never experienced what we are experiencing here, and when you bring them and you impose them on us as our leaders, as ministers, as commissioners, you just brought it from US, you put a minister, and he is importing the World Bank system, I want to plant it here. Now these people had also been colonized mentally. So this is a point. So they are relying on the things they know. The problem of Africa is going to be solved by people who are Africans, who think Africa, who eat Africa. That's the way to go. As long as we are going to be talking of these technocrats from Harvard, from here, they won't help us because they're not going to give us the secret to their trade. We must sit down here and research our problem. And if they say they don't want it, we will say we want it. I asked myself a very basic question. You brought the issues of COVID-19. You had situations where some doctors said, we have some remedies that were good in managing the crisis. And WHO says, no, we can't certify any management. People were allowed to die while they were researching for a vaccine. And when the vaccine came out, that violated all research protocols without test.
It was approved.
It was not just approved, it was indemnified. That if the vaccine kills you, you cannot sue the pharmaceutical companies. This is the situation where we find ourselves. And so we all received the vaccine. And we're forcing people to take vaccine that we didn't need. Because somebody says, you need that vaccine. You see, this is a part of development. Modi has demonstrated this in India, and it can be done and replicated in African countries. All the NGOs in India were asked to come and register and file an annual return, declare the source of their revenue and where this money is going to. Over 1,000 NGOs reduced to 250 in India. Others disappeared. See, because government must put eye on what is happening. Okay. Our soldiers can't enter Borno, but go to Borno and see the number of NGOs that are flourishing. Trade is not happening there, but NGO is happening there. What are they doing there?
Government aids, international aids, donor agencies is funding something.
So this is what we need to know, and this is where we need to be very critical. That if somebody is telling you that I have a help to do for you, now we need to be critical of those help. Whether it's what we need, actually, or we don't need it. But you see, there are a lot of people who are so hungry and greedy, mentally lazy, who do not believe in hard work, and feels that the only way to become wealthy and great is to take something on behalf of all of us and spend it on themselves. This is the problem.
Okay. It's been a beautiful hour spent with you, sir. I'm going to say 2 sentences, not more than 2 sentences. You know how we do it. If it goes more than 2 sentences, I'll send the bill. I'll send the bill across. So please, 2 sentences. talk to African leaders. Then 2 sentences, talk to the people. But I think we are too docile. What do you think African leaders, what approach should they follow when it comes to aid? Then for the people, what approach should they follow when their leader is collecting aids and loans on their behalf and can't account for it?
Well, I say to African leaders, we need to believe in ourselves, first and foremost. We need to own our problem and not shift it to other people. And I also want to say to our own people, the path of greatness is part of work. And work, no matter how it is work. And every time we work, we join God in his creative enterprise. Work is not a sin. Work is dignity. And it's dignifying.
Thank you very much, sir. I say thank you for hanging in there, staying with us from the beginning. And now we have to go. I wish it was a bit longer, but hey, don't worry. I hear that it's going to be allocated, but for now, I want to say thank you very much. Remember, we all must hold ourselves accountable. The leader you chose, whether he was forced on you or not, is still your leader. So you can stand and ask questions. When you become quiet, then you are in agreement. And remember what Doctor said, we must walk.